right. In my life, I am no stranger to crime. I have been a victim a number of different times over the years. Not too long ago, I found myself in an abusive relationship, and sadly, I started to believe that I deserved some of that abuse. It started to feel normal, and I was afraid of getting out of that relationship. And my friends started seeing a difference in me. I didn't feel like myself anymore. I lost all of my confidence. I became insecure. I wasn't the same girl that everybody was used to. And finally, my friend Sam came to me and had this little intervention because she was really worried. And I remember this day very clearly. We were at the park. Our kids were out playing. The sun was shining, and we were having this very dark conversation on our picnic blanket. And when I got done telling her about all these awful things that I had experienced, she looked at me and told me, "You are going to die. If you do not leave this man, he will kill you." It was the first time that I really thought seriously about how bad the situation had gotten. And I thought, for my son, I definitely need to get out. But it wasn't until a couple of weeks later that I finally did something about it. He got mean one night, abusive, and I finally stood up to him and I told him to get out of my house, leave me alone, or I'm going to call the police. And he was a felon, so mentioning the police was the wrong word to use. He told me he would kill me before being hauled off to jail, and he attacked me. I've taken years of martial arts training, Kung Fu. I had a career in the fitness industry. Nothing in my life had ever prepared me for what I went through that night. And after what seemed like hours of fighting in this attack, by the end of it, he had me down on the ground, and I was on my back, and he's banging my head into the ground, yelling at me, and I felt myself slipping away, and he starts choking. And some people think that at the last moments of your life, you have these flashbacks or these memories. And for me, it was different. I really thought I was dying, and I had this flash forward of my son and what his life was going to be like without me in it. And it was at that moment that he stopped attacking me. And amazingly, I walked away. I was okay. I was all bloodied up and I was bruised, but I wasn't broken. And I had a new determination that I would never let anyone have that kind of control over me again. I would never be in an abusive relationship. And I started on my path of healing with the help of my friend Sam, who I like to refer as one of my everyday heroes, and domestic violence advocates, some legal counseling. I got a restraining order. I got my own place. And I got all my strength back. I had a new sense of empowerment in my life, and I decided I needed to do something with it, and started taking training to become a domestic violence advocate myself. And it was in this new mission that I had in my life that I eventually crossed paths with Phoenix, who was unlike any hero I had ever met before. And that started the next adventure of my life.
So while she was going through the worst experience of her life, I was doing, the most odd experience of my life. I had someone break into my car, and during the process of the break-in, the glass had been left on the ground, and my son and I were running back to my car, and he had fallen and cut himself pretty bad on the glass. And there were a bunch of people around, and I didn't have my phone on me, and I told someone to call 911, and they said they couldn't because they didn't want to ruin their YouTube clip. And they'd actually been recording me try to stop the bleeding with my son. And it was a super frustrating moment for me. So I did what every logical person would do. I decided that I would have to become a superhero and track down all the people that have ever broken into a car in their life. So following that logical pattern, I realized the first thing I need to do was obviously tell my parents. So I went to my mom's house after a little deliberation and decided that I needed to get a $10,000 loan from BECU. Thank God for Boeing. I'm glad they don't really check what you're getting your loans for. And after the co-signing and all that was done, I have all my gear on the way. I decided I better get started in my crime-fighting adventure with the gear that I can find at Walmart. So I got a bunch of blue spandex, a fedora hat, a sock I'd cut in half that I tied around my face, a bulletproof vest, and I was on my way to go track down these criminals that break into people's cars and do terrible things. But there's a few things that comic books don't really prepare you for in the real life. I'm going to start off with a couple stories. The first one is awesome gadgets. Net gun. Sounds amazing. Not amazing. So I'm hiding in this bush for what seemed like hours. And after the rain stopped raining and I got sort of dry-ish, I watched this person walk up to a bike and start messing with the lock. And then he pops the lock open, pops on the bike, and starts going off. And I'm thinking, nice, right? This is what I came out here for the last 6 hours. So I pull out the net gun, and I'm chasing him through the park. And then he ditches the bike and starts running on foot, which is ridiculously stupid. But either way, we're running. And what I didn't realize was I'm running at like super black warp speed, you know? So when I pop the net gun out, it just opens up, and I net myself because of the wind resistance. So I just get kind of rolled up on the side of the road in this net gun ball, and the dude just keeps taking off down the street. So this drunk dude stumbles up, and he's like, "Hey, man, you look like you need some help." And I'm like, "Yeah, if you could, get me out." "Oh, yeah, no problem, dude." Well, it was a problem because he was drunk. So he couldn't get me out of the net. So after, 10 minutes of messing with me, he decides he's going to call the police against my wishes. So now that the police are coming, I'm rolling down the street in this net ball, trying to hide from the cops so I don't have to show them my identification. And I see this ditch in the side of the road in Capitol Hill, and I'm like, if I can just make it in the ditch, I know the cops won't see me. So as I roll off into this ditch, which is like half filled with drain water, I get in there, and not only did the cops find me, they had to take a lot of pictures for evidence, and it got very uncomfortable. So that was the first time that gadgets didn't work for me. So I put the net gun away and realized I had to get much more logical with this. So I went to a grappling hook, which surprisingly enough is called trespassing when you put it on the top of a building. I didn't realize that. But that was also a failed attempt. But towards the middle of all this, after that, I was on my Facebook page, and I'd seen a picture of of a girl that I'd met on the streets, and we had taken a photo together and a couple other things. And I did what anybody does who's really single-minded. I started Facebook stalking, just because she's always on the thing. So I was like, oh hey, look at that's a cool photo, And I saw that she was doing a charity auction where she was going to be auctioning off a date, and you could go there and put money towards the cause. I believe it was, what was the cause for? Leukemia. Yeah, it was leukemia lymphoma cause. So I went there just like an everyday person, this person not knowing that I was the superhero person who Facebook stalked them. I get there and I sit down, and I brought enough money with me to make sure that I would win the betting. I don't like to lose. If I do things, I kind of go all out with them. If you thought it was normal to do it like this level, I do it this level. So I went to the auction, I brought $1,500 in cash, and I'm sitting there, and everyone's going for like $50 and $60. And finally, this girl walks up, and the first guy bids like 20, so I 25, then it starts going like 40, then another dude's like 50, then the guy next to me just pops his wallet out, sits it down on the table, and starts pulling cash out. I'm like, what is going on? And I didn't know the backstory, but this dude is like another Facebook weirdo. and he's gone all the way to this auction with the intention of winning a date with this girl too. So we get this ridiculous bidding war, and we start getting in the hundreds of dollars. And finally, just to end this thing, I just reached over, totally inappropriately, just grabbed his wallet, fanned out his cash, and then bet $5 more than the total amount. Just finished it. So I ended up winning a date with this girl, and the night before the date, I'm doing what most people do the night before their date. I'm hanging out in a parking lot, about to stop a knife fight, and I run in with my blue spandex on. I'm ready to go because my new suit hasn't arrived yet. So I do, what everyone else does. I hop in. I'm like, "Stop it! Put the knife down!" And that's when he stabbed me. So spandex is not knife-proof, and neither is a bulletproof vest. I learned that. You have to buy the stab-resistant bulletproof vests, which are more expensive on Amazon. So after I stopped the knife fight, because you can't keep stabbing people when the knife's already in my stomach, and if you run, I don't need to chase you because you're obviously, situation solved. So at that point, the police came, and they asked me if I needed medical help, which I assured them I was fine. And once they called both aid cards, which I refused to go in because I was fine, they left. And I went to my car, and I got the knife out, and I was like, what am I going to do? I have a date tomorrow. And I'm thinking, you know, I've done this whole thing before. When you get stabbed, you go to the hospital, they put the stitches in, they put the tape on, then you're not allowed to eat food, you can't be normal for like 24 hours, and I got a date. Like, and I paid like a lot of money to win this thing, you know? Like I said, everything to the extreme. So I did what most normal, rational people would do. I went on WebDoctor and figured out that you can use super glue. So I was on my way, right? I went and I bought some super glue, and I super glued the thing shut. But using my great logical thinking that I always do, I glued my super suit shirt and the wound to myself. So now I'm, 12 hours out from this date because I went and slept on my bed in my super suit because I couldn't get it off. So I wake up, the date's in 4 hours, I'm glued inside a superhero outfit, and I have a stab wound. So I decided I will just tell the girl the truth. I'm like, okay, I sort of moonlight as a superhero. I paid for the date, you can't back out. I'm gonna come in my super suit. I'm not gonna take my mask off because I have a secret identity. You have to refer to me as Phoenix, even though the name that I told you on our auction date was a lie. And I'll see you there. We ended up having a great date. It was a good date. We were talking and laughing, and it was one of those just like amazing connection kind of moments. And that was when she stops and she goes, your suit looks wet. And I'd been laughing so much I had actually started bleeding through my super suit and burst my super glue open. And everybody can like look back in your relationships and find that one moment when you realize that that person's probably the perfect person for you. Mine was about 10 minutes later when we had driven into an alleyway and taken my super suit top off, and she was helping me glue my stomach shut so we could continue our date. Purple has done so many different things for my crime fighting. My crime fighting is always about effort. I go out there and I put the most effort out. If I walk around for 10 hours and stop one crime, that's a win. Where in her mind, that's really stupid because you should be able to stop a lot more crimes in 10 hours than just one. So she found out where all the crime was in the city and mapped where I should be at certain times. And she's condensed the time I spend, but it's quality and effective time. And it's less creepy. So I guess I would just I'd say that she took what I was doing and made a conscious, focused, intelligent, well thought out, ungrappling, hooked, or net gunned crime fighting experience for me. And I don't know what I would do if I had never met her, so.
Thank you. So I'm not done yet. So I don't like to think of myself as a victim after everything I've been through on my own and after everything that we've been through together. I'm a survivor, and the night that I almost died, I yelled and I screamed for help. None of my neighbors came to my door, nobody called the police, and at first I was really sad about that, and then I got angry and wondered why don't people help other people, and now I am doing something with that emotion. And meeting Phoenix, I mean, we are absolutely perfect for each other. We have a very odd and unusual relationship, but it's healthy. I'm probably the only person in the whole world that truly understands what he does and why he does it and why it's needed. And I understand and support him so much that I have taken on a superhero persona of my own, and I'm out there in the streets with him, and I've also taken my crime fighting to a domestic level with helping victims of domestic violence. So a lot of people go their whole lives looking for their special someone, and I'm very, very lucky to not only have my crime fighting partner, but my partner in life.